Hey everyone, Bryce here. Every time I read through the comments on this channel, I am floored by the honesty, the curiosity, and the absolute brilliant questions that you throw at me. Some of them actually stop me in my tracks, and I mean seriously. Well, today I'm answering the questions that come up again and again and again. And if you're wondering about it, I guarantee you someone else is. So let's dive into this and let's get real.
They told him he had 5 good years left. That was 15 years ago. He's still standing, still speaking, still living. This is Living with Parkinson's, the good, the bad, and the reality. A podcast about what happens when life throws you something incurable, and you fight back anyway. Hosted by Bryce Perry. Diagnosed at 40, 15 years into the battle. This is the truth behind the tremor. Let's begin.
Well, welcome back to the channel. Thanks to all my loyal viewers and for coming back. And if you're new here, my name is Bryce, and this is Doing Life Today. And it's home of Living with Parkinson's, the good, the bad, and the reality. And this is your spot for strength, hope, and support. And there's no sugarcoating here, just real talk and some laughs along the way. So let's get into today's Q&A. Again, I've taken these right out of the comments. So the first question here is from Robin. Robin's from Australia. And the question is, what's the difference between Pramipexole and L-Dopa or Levodopa? Well, Robin, that's a fantastic question. And honestly, it's one that I wish somebody had broken down for me when I was first diagnosed. And I get so many questions like this. So here we go. So here's the real life rundown, right? When I got my diagnosis, my neurologist put me straight on to Levodopa. Okay, no Pramipexole. No Pramipexole and at all in the beginning. Now, Levodopa or L-Dopa is the gold standard, right? Your body converts it directly into dopamine. So the effect is real, and most of the time it's pretty noticeable. Matter of fact, that's one of the ways that they confirm a diagnosis is if you take Levodopa and it actually takes away your symptoms or makes them feel better, that's a guarantee that you have Parkinson's. Anyway, a few months later, after I started the Levodopa, when my symptoms, not that they were getting trickier, it was like we were, again, trying to find this perfect mix of taking the least amount of Levodopa that's going to last the longest amount of time. So what we were finding is that my Levodopa was taking a while to kick in, and it wasn't lasting very long. So um, that's when my doctor added the Pramipexole to the mix. But I never took Pramipexole by itself. It's always been in combination with the Levodopa for me. Now, Pramipexole is a dopamine agonist, or I can never say that word, agonist, right? And the meaning it sort of like mimics dopamine in your brain, but it doesn't actually become dopamine. I still remember the first time I tried the two together. I felt like my body was getting like a software update. I was at a family dinner, and halfway through, I realized my hands weren't shaking as much, right? And they were, and the levodopa was kicking in sooner, and it was seemed to be lasting longer, at least for me. And that's kind of what I think it's actually supposed to do. I remember somebody saying, "Hey, you're not doing your jazz hands tonight," or something like that. It was like, which, by the way, your jazz hands became a running joke in my house, right? But for me, levodopa's always worked. It started working quickly, but the effect wouldn't last that long, right? So Pramipexole seemed to stretch things out. It made the ride a little bit smoother, but yes, it also made me super sleepy sometimes, and that's one side effect I didn't expect. If you ever catch me dozing off mid conversation, you know why. So my Pramipexole right now, I take my first 3 doses of Levodopa, and I take my first dose as soon as I wake up, and then I'm in 3 hours. So 3 hours later. Example: if I wake up at 6 o'clock, I take my meds at 6, 9, 12. Right. So here's the big lesson: you have to be part of the conversation with your doctor. I know I say it and I'll say it again. I ask why a lot more than I used to. It turns out that not being difficult. It's not being difficult. It's self advocacy. You have to, again, talk to your doctor, ask the questions. If you're not feeling right, if it doesn't feel like your medication's lasting that long, or it's running out too quickly, journal it, make notes, watch the trend, talk to your doctors, talk to your whole healthcare team. And here, I'll throw in a little Brysonism for you. With Parkinson's, there is no set it and forget it. It's more like a set it, watch it, and keep a backup plan in your pocket. All right, that was the question there. So thanks. That was a great question. Again, taking these right out of the questions that have been in the comments in the YouTube videos. So here's question number 2, and this is from Kelly. Kelly said, "How do I get past the doom and gloom and get out of bed when Pristic isn't working?" Well, let me say it like this, Kelly. Anyway, thank you for your question. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a viewer. Kelly, you're not alone here. I can't tell you how many mornings I've stared at the ceiling thinking, nope, not today. The mental health piece of Parkinson's is the real deal. For me, depression and anxiety, it crept in very quickly after diagnosis. And what helped me was this, and okay, let me be real. Pristic, didn't work for me either. I tried a couple of different antidepressants before I found one that actually took the edge off. And sometimes it's about trial and error. And sometimes what helps wasn't even the medication. It was getting out of bed and opening the blinds. And I started challenging myself to sit up and swing my legs out of bed and put on my socks. And, the socks never matched, but hey, I got up. And one morning, my daughter, I remember she walked in and she saw me still in bed. And she said, "Dad, are you getting up today?" And which was very unusual if I was up before my daughter. Sorry, if my daughter was up before me. I said, I'm working on it. And you know what she did? She brought me a cup of coffee, and she sat beside me and she told me about her day and her last night and what she had done and whatnot. And I realized in that moment, the best medicine was just having someone there, even if I still felt like a zombie. And you know what? Humor helps too. I say that a lot, but now I say, let's see what kind of circus act my body is planned for today. And sometimes the tent falls down, and sometimes I'm the star performer, and sometimes it's just not there. You know, some days getting out of bed is the win. The rest is the bonus points. There's a Bryceism. Some days getting out of bed is just the win, and the rest is just the bonus. But anyway, thank you so much for that question. And I read, and I answer every single comment in on YouTube. Every one of them by myself. Sometimes I'm a little behind because there's a lot, but I encourage them. I love them. This community is amazing. I love the fact that people are jumping in and encouraging each other, and some are trying to even answer questions and give their opinions on it. And it's so amazingly and awesome and wonderful. And if you are new here and you haven't subscribed, or maybe you've been watching watching videos and haven't subscribed, you know what? Why not? Subscribe. It's real talk. It's real, right? And in the comments, put your questions down like all the time, all the videos. If there's something that doesn't make sense, if you're questioning something, feel free to write them down. And also in the comments of this video, I'd love to know if you like this, like if this is something that you would enjoy, and maybe I could do this on a weekly basis because I have so many questions, and I've been thinking about doing it for a while, where I can just grab some random, grab a bunch of questions for the week, maybe, or the month before. And kind of go see if we can answer them on the air. So anyway, hope you're enjoying this so far. And if you are, hit that like button and share it with somebody. That would help the algorithm and help us get this video out to more people that need it, right? Because there's a lot of people that need this. So here's question number 3. And this was anonymous. Anyway, my husband watches me struggle and asks if I took my meds, and that ticks me off. Okay, so whoever dropped that comment, you are my spirit animal. I can't count the number of times Carmen's asked, "Did you take your meds?" And I wanted to say, "Did you take your patient's pill today?" But here's what I've learned. Most of the time, those questions aren't about the meds at all. They're about fear. My wife, my kids, my parents, they're scared of what they're seeing, and they want to fix it, right? But sometimes it comes out as like a pop quiz on my medication routine, and that drives me batty. So what helped us was this. This was really this. Now get ready. You got to write this one down. This is a very big one. You got to write this down. Here it comes. Honest conversations. One day I just said, Carmen, if you want to help, just sit with me or bring me a coffee, but don't interrogate me like I'm on a game show. We even created a code word. If I say autopilot, it means I'm struggling, but I don't want to talk about it right now. It's not perfect, but it helps. So we have a safe word. Anyway, and you have to remember something. They're saying that because they care, right? We're all learning a new language together. Have you ever learned a new language? I haven't because I think it's too difficult. Well, this is the same thing. We're trying to figure this out. And just as much as we're trying to figure out, our loved ones, our care partners are trying to figure it out as well. And you know what? Let me say this to the care partners out there as well. The inner circle. And then I always forget to say this, but we have a private community of people that are helping each other, talking to each other. We're doing live calls. I do live call with everybody there once a month. And there's care partners in there. So if you're a care partner, the inner circle's for you too. Come on in and be part of the community. And if we have direct questions, I mean, they are getting deep in there. It's pretty awesome. So I'd love to see you there. If you want more information about that, there's a link in the description below for the inner circle. And you know what? Come hang out with me and us. It's an amazing group. I just love them. Okay. Did I give you a Bryceism for that one? Well, let's give you one anyway. How about this? Sometimes did you take your meds really means I love you and I'm scared, but I still reserve the right to roll my eyes. There you go. Okay. Let's look at this question here. And again, I think this was anonymous. This one, but this one said travel, flights, and Parkinson's. How do you manage? Right. Well, travel with Parkinson's is, let's call it an adventure. Imagine playing chess while riding a roller coaster with your hands tied behind your back. That's how I feel. That's great for me. But here's my routine. I always pack twice the meds that I think I'm going to need. Half in my carry-on and half in Carmen's purse, or half, wherever it is I have in my briefcase or my laptop bag. I keep a printed schedule. I set alarms because time zones make things weird. They make things weird. I've heard of people, I don't need this yet, but people call ahead, call the airline, ask for wheelchair assistance. Even if you think that you're not going to need it, why not? Why not? Because, one time, I thought I could power through, and I ended up stranded at gate 49, feeling like I just completed an Olympic event in slow motion. You know, I hate it. So some of those ones, but I'm really trying to like power through. I'm trying to like push myself. I'm like, it's bedtime, but no, you know what? I just want to get out of the airport. So I'm going to get down there, grab my luggage, grab a water, get in the Uber or the cab, and then I'll take my meds. And I remember it was this long walk, and I thought that it was like it's an airport. It can't be that long. And next thing you know, I feel like I've been walking for like a mile, and halfway through, I literally had to stop and sit down. And I'm like, that's frustrating, right? So plan ahead, prepare yourself, and don't try to push through all the time. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of smartness. Smartness. There you go. You know, my record for airport security is 14 minutes because my pill bottles, my snacks, my gel packs, they all set off alarms, wherever possible. And by the time I get to the gate, I need a nap and a snack. I always make a joke that I have the cleanest laptop in the history of mankind. I don't know if I look like I'm a bad guy. I don't know. But every time I go through security, bar none, every time in an airport, my laptop's getting that rub down, it's getting clean. So it's like I either have the cleanest laptop, on the planet. It's crazy. But here's a tip. Here's another trick that I've done, and I've done this lately. I carry a letter from my neurologist. And the reason I did that as a security card one time, he tried to confiscate my pill case, and I said, "Trust me, I'm not trying to smuggle anything exciting unless you're really into Cardopa, right?" So I actually, it was a little bit nervous for me, and because I also now use my pill timer caps, I just have a letter in there, and it's from my neurologist that says what I have, what I take, what it looks like, and that way, if there's any other question, at least they can phone them and get a hold of them. But I guess the bottom line is this: is that travel isn't easy, but with planning, you can still have adventures. Just maybe not the run to catch your flight kind, which I'm learning and I'm learning as I go. So um, I don't know. Did you get a Bryceism on that one? Always pack double the meds and half the stress. You'll use both. How do you like that? I think that was a pretty good one. And again, I hope you're enjoying this. I hope you're liking the way this is going. But like these questions, are the reason I love this community. None of us signed up for Parkinson's, but we ended up here together. I always say, welcome to the club that you didn't sign up for, and none of us want to be here. But your honesty, it makes all the difference. And for me, like for me and for each other. So what do you want to know next? All right, drop your questions in the comments. I really do read every single one, and I answer every single one. And I love making videos for you, and I love to answer what you want to hear. And if you like this format, I'd love to do more. Maybe it's something we could do on a weekly basis, but let me know, please. And if you want to go deeper, I mentioned it before, join the Inner Circle community. There's a link in the description below, and you're always welcome. Okay, remember, we're all just figuring out how to keep doing life today together. And I'll see you soon.